How do I look? That's good. Ooh-wee! Welcome back to Chef Sawyer Sunday. I'm Chef Sawyer, and it's Sunday. Today I'm cooking a pork loin roulade, which means we're gonna take this big, beautiful pork loin here. We're gonna slice it out nice and thin, and we're gonna stuff all these beautiful things inside and roll it up. So here I have some sharp provolone cheese. I have some Parmigiano Reggiano, and we're gonna saute some spinach. We're gonna mix it with some roasted red peppers, and we're gonna take everything, we're gonna stuff it on the inside, we're gonna roll it up, and we're gonna tie it and bake it. Let's get started. Small diced onion, you guys should be familiar. You've seen it a few times. Go ahead, put it in half, give it a peel. Start at the top. Work your way down, going almost all the way through the onion. Turn it. Turn it again. Ka-chow, 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 ka-chow. Boom. Onion. Small dice. Let's see that one more time, Chef Sawyer. No problem, kids. Boom. Little intervals, 1/4 inch, all the way down. Turn it. Boom, 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 boom. We gotta go ahead and make our stuffing for the pork roulade. Put some olive oil in a pan, and we saute off our onion. We just want to saute our onion until it gets soft and translucent. When you're wilting spinach, you want a big pan because the spinach takes up so much space until you cook it down. But when I add the spinach to this pan, it's going to be overflowing out the top, and that's kind of how it's going to be when you cook spinach. Once our onions are soft and they've been cooking down for a few minutes, add the spinach. Add about 1 cup of white wine. And now just throw a lid on there and let it steam for a minute or two so it'll kind of start wilting. After you've given it some time to wilt in the pan and you have more room, let's just stir it around. Make sure that everything gets cooked evenly. You don't want any spinach to turn to mush while the spinach on the top is still raw and crunchy. Just gonna season with some salt. The white wine, the onions, it smells really good as it cooks down together. This is a very Italian-inspired meal. We love our pork, spinach, roasted red peppers, Parmesan cheese. These are things you'll see the Italian people using very frequently. Your spinach is properly wilted when it looks like this. Once it's cooked, but as soon as it gets cooked, you just want to stop it because spinach goes from perfectly cooked to mushy very quickly. It only needs about 2 to 3 minutes in the pan before it's looking like that. And now we're gonna go ahead and roll out our pork loin. I'll show you exactly how to do that right now. So this is our pork loin. As you can see, it's a pretty big piece of meat. In fact, this is about only half of it. And I just have too much fat here on the top. It comes with some silver skin, which is inedible. You don't want that. And I'm just gonna take my knife and trim it up. I insert it where the fat starts, and I just long draws as I push it towards the end. This is the fat. This is good to eat. But what's not good to eat is this stuff underneath. This is called silver skin, and this is very, very tough. Even when you cook it for hours, it's inedible at all times. So the way we trim up the silver skin, we insert the knife, I hold it at the end here, and I just pull as I make a sawing motion. Insert, pull, saw, and remove that entirely. This is all no good. That's entirely trash. There's nothing you can do with it. Anything that looks like this, as you can see, these strands of the silver skin, that's what we are here to get rid of. Sometimes the silver skin runs deep into the meat. There's nothing you can do about that. You're just gonna wanna do your best and try and get it out. As you can see, I have some here going deep into the meat, and all you can do is just go in there and get it out. This is all good fat right here. That's okay to leave. I see a couple little pieces of silver skin, and we're just gonna come through and trim it up. And here we have our beautifully trimmed pork loin with just little bits of fat. That is totally okay. We got rid of the majority of silver skin, so now it's time to go to the next step. I'm gonna slice it and roll it out like it's a book. I'm gonna open it up and lay it flat. I'm gonna start just like filleting a fish. I run my knife along the bottom and I make a small incision. I find that incision and I just run it back 2, 3, 4 times, however many times you need. Make the cut deeper, slowly. Slice by slice. And as you can see, I can open it up a little more, come through, keep slicing as I pull the pork loin back. So now that I have the first flap open, I'm just gonna go ahead and do the same thing again. Gonna roll it out like a book. Because the result is something that I'm gonna want to be completely flat so that I can stuff it and roll it back up. We started in a thick log and we slowly rolled it out and opened it up like a book, and now we have some sort of mat to work with. And now it's time to pound it out just to further solidify the flat pork loin that we can stuff and roll. Now that we have our whole rolled out pork loin on our cutting board, we lay some plastic wrap over top because now it's time to flatten it. If you have a butcher's hammer, that works great. I'm just gonna use a tiny saucepan. That works great as well. So, very gently, you wanna strike it, not too hard. You don't want it paper thin, and you don't wanna put holes in it. But start in the middle of your pork and push it out. You wanna move all the extra meat from here outward. Not only is it super fun to take some stress out on a big piece of meat, it also makes everything nice and level. It smooths it out to a more consistent thickness, and it helps the overall cooking be much more efficient. So as far as seasoning our pork roulade goes, I have some raw garlic. That's gonna go right into the pestle and mortar. And to the pestle and mortar with the garlic, I'm just gonna pluck some fresh thyme and some fresh rosemary. Picking fresh herbs is a labor of love. Arabian nights, more often than not, are hotter than hot. It takes forever to pick herbs. Ugh. All right, after we have sufficient rosemary and thyme in here with our garlic cloves, I'm just gonna go ahead and give it all the good old monster mash. Try and keep it in there though. You can do this all with a knife. You can throw it all onto a cutting board and give it a good chop if you don't have a pestle and mortar. You can do it in the food processor. There's lots of different ways to achieve the same result. This is gonna be the seasoning for our pork, and I'm just going for a little bit of a paste here. A nice, beautiful, fragrant paste. All right. Now that we have our good garlic herb paste, it's time to season our pork roulade. Typical, salt. There's a lot of surface area, okay? Onion powder. A light dusting. Some garlic powder. Black pepper. Red pepper flakes. Here I have some Parmigiano Reggiano, and that's gonna join our sharp provolone. The sharp provolone is great flavor. The Parmigiano Reggiano is just gonna give us a great saltiness. Boom. Throw some of that on the inside. Just like that. Uh-oh. Runaway Pumpkin. Could be a band name, it sounds like. Garlic and herb mixture. Just make sure that gets everywhere. I'm gonna take about half of it, rub it in with the cheese, rub it in with the pork, let everything get nice and familiar with each other. Does that look good or what, people? You tell me. And don't lie either, because I know the truth. Yes, it looks good. We have our sharp provolone. This will provide some excellent flavor. If you guys have never had sharp provolone, go pick some up. It's unlike a cheese you've ever had before. Nothing better than a cheesy pork loin, that's for sure. We're gonna take our roasted red peppers, put them all over the inside. That looks like a pretty nice distribution to me. Now we have our sauteed spinach. Make a nice layer of this sauteed spinach all the way across the inside. And we are really going to Flavor Town now, baby, that's for sure. All right, now this is the fun part. This is where we go ahead and roll it up. You start at one end, you fold it over and you tuck it, just like a burrito. If you've never rolled a burrito before, it's something like this. You just want to make sure everything gets on the inside. We don't want anything leaking out. And now we have a beautifully stuffed, beautifully rolled pork loin. That is stuffed to the brim, from edge to edge. And we're gonna go ahead and truss this. I'll show you guys exactly how to do that, which is just a fancy word for to tie it up, so it doesn't unravel and everything comes out of it. Here's my butcher's twine. Cut myself a good section of that. Give myself some room to work. You take your butcher's twine, you make sure you have some extra space on the left so you can tie your knot, and I'll come underneath it. Just tie the end pretty tightly so that none of my cheese, none of my anything is leaking out at the end here. All right, so I do a double loop knot in the end. I have my extra string all on the right. I have my tied knot on the pork right here. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna make a loop. I'm gonna go like this, make a loop, and throw the loop over the end of the pork and bring it under. I'll show you guys exactly how, and I'll give you another demonstration. Make a loop by just twisting your hand. You make a circle, slide the circle under the pork loin, and pull. All right, make a loop, slide it under the pork loin, and you want this to be incrementally about every inch or so. Keep it nice and uniform. I'm gonna pull it tight and do another one. Make a loop, throw it over the end of the pork loin, slide it another inch up, and pull it tight. And when you're done with this, it should look very professional. Make a loop, throw it over the end, slide it up an inch, and pull it tight. And now when you get to the other end, just make sure you pull this one nice and tight. Give it a good knot, just like you did with the first end, because we don't want any cheese, any juices, anything good leaking out of this end. I'm gonna take all of my extra string and just give it a good couple wraps. We have our beautifully trussed pork loin. Looks like something right from the butcher's shop. It's stuffed with our delicious sauteed spinach, our white wine, our garlic, our onions, our herbs, our provolone cheese, our Parmesan cheese. Basically what I'm trying to tell you is the inside is gonna be delicious. And now it's time that we ensure the outside is just as delicious too. So we're gonna go ahead and season the outside before we bake it. To season the outside of your pork loin, same exact things that went on the inside except olive oil. We're gonna add olive oil so it gets nice and crispy in the oven. Some onion powder, some garlic powder. These are just flavor boosters, people. Your food will never turn out worse with onion and garlic powder on it, that's for sure. Salt and pepper go on absolutely everything. You need a hefty amount of salt because look at how big this piece of meat is. Some red pepper flakes, because a tiny little bit of spice is gonna make this taste much better. And I just have a little bit of my rosemary, thyme garlic paste here, left over from the inside we didn't use. And now it's time to make sure everything gets evenly coated. And the reason why this is so great, such an awesome meal, minimal effort required. You roll it out, you put whatever you want inside. You can do anything. Vegetables, bacon, bread, you can do, the possibilities are endless. But the cheese, the roasted peppers, and the spinach combination is just classic. And as you can see, it just looks unbelievable. It's a large amount of food for how little effort you put into it. $3.75, a piece of meat that thick is gonna take approximately an hour and a half or two. See you soon. Hey there, welcome back to Chef Sawyer Sunday pork roast, freshly pulled out of the oven. Look at that, beautifully uniform. That's why you truss it, because it makes the cooking time more even, since it's all a consistent shape. It just looks so good. Nice and crispy on the top, very herbaceous smelling, cheesy. I'm getting the smells of wine. It's excellent. Cut the twine off, the butcher's twine. We don't need anybody eating that. All right, once you remove all the twine, just go ahead and throw that away. And now it's this easy, is just go ahead and slice it and serve it. The end is usually reserved for the chef before the party starts, so you can taste it and make sure it tastes as good as it looks. If the end piece looks that good, I'm excited to see what's in the middle. All right, screw it. We're just jumping right to the middle. Let's see that cross section cut. How's that looking? Nice and cheesy. Definitely a great layer of cheese. Perfectly melted, perfectly cooked. The pork is very moist, and every single slice is gonna have a great amount of everything. Tons of cheese, tons of herbs, tons of spinach in every single slice. Boy, does that look so good. This pork loin is just cooked to perfection. It looks exactly as intended, and I'm sure that it tastes as good as it looks, because I'm looking in the middle and it's perfectly moist. And now all that's left is to just try the fruits of your labor. That is some good stuff. Thanks for coming back week after week to support me, Chef Sawyer. I'm very thankful. Have a great night, everybody, and I'll see you next week. Mwah!